Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we're talking to Grammy Award-winning producer Needlz, discussing how his parents set the foundation for music and education, trading sounds with Kanye West, and exploring music in the advertising industry. Hey, we're here for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and I am here with a Grammy Award-winning producer, Needlz.
What's up?
How you doing?
Doing great.
Good. I love the way you came in, just very positive, ready to share with me all of your life stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dope. So you've are responsible for crafting some countless number one records over the years, and you've certainly made a name for yourself as a hit maker. Wouldn't you say that?
I'm trying.
You trying?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I that's the goal, man. It's still fun.
Yeah.
I'm and it's something that at this point I'm not really stressing about.
Okay.
As much.
So Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
You came in immediately, had a connection with Keyshawn here and Kurt, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your hometown and I guess like how being from the Midwest helped you musically. From what I know in terms of people from the Midwest, you grew up listening to a lot of different music. Yeah.
Man, I just love my upbringing. Lansing was a really interesting city. I grew up kind of middle class, and we were, my family and my brothers and I, we were all we had a lot of music influences. We had a lot of, my parents made sure we were very kind of like culturally aware, and we celebrated Kwanzaa, and
really?
we did everything. I felt like my parents did a great job by just exposing us to a lot of different things. But my pops was like a big avid jazz and blues collector, and he just has a basement full of records, and every night he's down there after work with a beer just listening to some jazz or some blues.
Just throwing on the record.
Yeah, and then for some reason, I don't know why it was me, but he would always pick me to come down, help him like adjust his speakers like 2 inches this way, 2 inches that way.
Yeah.
And I just saw how meticulous he was with just his gear. He was like an audiophile and all that stuff.
Really?
So yeah, it was just in the house, but I didn't really get into music like that. I was a kid, wanted to play football and basketball, and I saw the movie Juice, and that kind of just changed my life.
Really?
Yeah, it was the movie Juice. I just saw this cat that was just real cool. The dude, main character Q, and he was DJing, and he was just a man in that movie, and I saw that and wanted to really get into DJing from that point.
So you talked a little bit about basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first. You actually had a period of time where you were really trying to pursue basketball. What happened to that?
Yeah, I was all right. I wasn't that tall, but I was recruited by some D1 schools, some D2 schools, and I just think towards my senior year, I just kind of felt like, It's not that I didn't think I could pursue it. I just got more into music, to be honest with you. Around that time, around like my sophomore, junior year, I started selling mixtapes and started DJing more, and I spent more time DJing and all that. So basketball kind of fell back.
Yeah. So you feel like it took kind of like the back to music.
Yeah, it was crazy though. Like I got recruited by like Tennessee, Missouri. And then some like smaller schools, and then New York University, which is like, I don't know, at the time it was like a Division III school. But what's crazy is while they were recruiting me, I saw their curriculum, and they had like a music business program. So when I was in high school, I kind of like, okay, that's cool. That's someplace I want to go. But they didn't offer scholarships because it was a D3 school.
Right.
And so that's where I wanted to go straight out of high school. But, my parents were like, nah, yo,
You got to pursue something with the money.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. So I ended up going to FAM.
So let's take a listen to this analogy, okay? So if a basketball announcer were to be talking about your game or your career, he'd probably say, this guy Needlz just goes about his business. He doesn't make a lot of noise or draw a lot of attention to himself. But every time you look up at the end of the game, he scored about 30 points. And he's dished out 10 assists. He's gotten 5 steals. Would that be an accurate statement about your career? If so, is that your preferred mode of operation? Is that the way you like to operate as a producer and musician? Yeah,
I think it just kind of fits my personality. First of all, that was a great analogy. It just kind of fits my personality. I'm not a big look at me, everybody type of
star.
Type of guy. But I love music. I love creating. I feel like I'm as good as anybody else. And, I kind of stay low key, pop up with a record that goes crazy.
Numbers.
That does numbers. And then I jump into like some of my passion projects,
Yeah.
Then I get really into like construction and I'm building a house and I'm really into interior design. And then I just come back to music for a second. I just kind of like, I don't know. I've kind of like the whole, you're Needlz. I heard of you, but I don't really know
much about.
I don't know much about you. That's like my career, but I'm like, I
like that. I like that. I also want to take a step back into, you talked about going to school, going to college. So you attended FAM and Florida State?
Yeah, I started at FAM. Went down there. It was just amazing, an amazing experience.
You actually first FAM?
Yeah.
You are? I found that out today.
Yeah.
I'm an AK. I graduated, crossed at Howard.
Okay. Ski fire in the state.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I started there and, I was in this music business program. I mean, not music business. It was a business administration program. They had one of the best business schools in the nation.
Yeah.
SBI. And I was in that school for a while, and it was just very, shake their hand like this and give them your introduction like this. And while I definitely saw the benefits of some of that, but it just wasn't me. And once again, at the time, I just got more and more into music. I was the guy that won the local college DJ competition and DJed at all the clubs, and it just became a passion. I just remember in at FAM, I was like DJing. I was like all by myself, and it was this new Wu-Tang album came out, and it was just one song on the second album. I think it was like Bells of War or something. And something about that just connected with me. I was like, yo, I just sat down and I was like, yo, I gotta do this music stuff, yo. Like, it just really resonated with me.
Dope.
And so from then on, I did everything that I could do to like pursue it full time. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was like transferring schools so I can get out of Florida, go to New York, or just really go somewhere that really was dedicated to music. So I switched to Florida State, graduated in 2 years, and then I got into the music business school at NYU.
Dope.
Which was very important. More that it was a great school, but it was just in New York where
that's where you needed to be.
Yeah, you needed to be at the time. So I spent a lot of time there. I was in school, but I was out there hustling. I was out there. A part of the curriculum was you had to get an internship for Bad Boy.
Yeah.
And
tell us about your experience at Bad Boy and how that kind of fueled the success of your career.
So around that time, like I was still kind of DJing. I had just like, when I moved to New York, I like sold my turntables and bought like an MPC. It was just like a hobby. Mm-hmm. And so, I just kind of got into it. Music was dope. Bad Boy was popping. And I interned. I remember just coming from this whole business background at SBI. I remember going to my interview at Bad Boy in like a full suit and tie, mm-hmm. and everybody's like laughing at me because I was so dressed and proper. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they were impressed with that. So, but quickly, like I went to the part of the company that managed the producers.
Okay.
So they had the Hitmen, which is like just all these dope cats, being Stevie J, like I don't know, all the dope hitmen, you know what I'm saying? So it was good for me because I got a chance to listen to their music and before it came out, and just really got a chance to see the caliber of music and their sounds and stuff like this. Once again, I'm just starting out producing, and so obviously they hired me, and the guy was like, yo, so what do you do? Because every intern got a little hustle. I'm sure you do music or do something. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, that's kind of like and they're like, what do you do? I was like, well, I just started producing, and it's my boy Damon Eaton, and he's like, yo, let me hear something. So I sent him some music, and he liked it, and he started like putting my music in with the rest of the hitmen, kind of on the low, start sending my stuff out to different labels and stuff.
That's love.
And hell yeah, man! Shout out to Damon. And then it got into the hands of Def Jam, this A&R named Filet Knight, and she was like she was the A&R for Method Man, DMX, and Redman at the time. Yeah. It's like when they were popping, and she really liked my tracks and just told me to just keep come up to Def Jam, play me stuff like every week, just play me stuff, and I would just go up there. And then one day she was just like, yo, I just want to manage you. And really? I was like, yo, let's do it. And then from then on, she my time with her was just awesome. Like, she got me from then on, like, I don't know, a few weeks later, I'm like on the Rough Riders compilation. I'm on, she's calling me like, yo, you on G on this album? I'm like, oh, go crazy. Like shit was like, it was
all adding up.
Yeah, it started happening so fast. Well, I will say this. I got my first little check for the Rough Riders. And I thought I was popping. You know what I'm saying? And I went and I remember.
What'd you buy first?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got an apartment. I remember it was like, I got one front end for like $5,000 and one front end for like $7,500 or something like that. Anyway, I went and got a apartment, in Harlem, and was at 145th and 148th at St. Nick. Dope little apartment. Super Bowl was coming up. I went and got me the dope 27-inch. Oh, yes. You know what I'm saying? 27 inches big at the time. You know what I'm saying? TV, and threw a big Super Bowl party and all this stuff. And then I look up a couple months later, man, I ain't had no money to get on the train. Dang. I was broke. Dang. You know what I mean? It's just, and that was like a big lesson on like, managing and budgeting, your money. And,
so I want to kind of go back to the people that you met while interning and those relationships. How do you feel those relationships help nourish your career really? Like, give us more details on how you even nourish those relationships as well.
Absolutely. I definitely make a point not to like burn any bridges or just like, do any bad business or, I was just learning, meeting people. It was just so organic. Yeah. It wasn't like I was trying that hard. It's just like you're around like-minded people and you just tend to just vibe with people. And, around that time, once again, I was at NYU, and I think one of the cooler things was a lot of my classmates were like in film. A lot of my classmates were like, they're all doing big things. You know what I'm saying? So not only my internship at Bad Boy was in developing those relationships were cool, but just with my peers at NYU. And I think that's one thing a lot of young cats look at or don't look at. It's like, yo, your peers, like y'all in this room, right? Y'all are the next generation, know, and you guys may be doing stuff in different fields down the road, but it's good to keep that rapport because down the road you'll see how like all the little interns I was coming up with are now heads of A&Rs at labels, and they manage this artist and they got relationships here, so this game is so much about relationships, so much, and just nurturing those and keeping in contact with people. And so it's definitely all about that.
So another thing that I think is interesting, because you were pursuing your master's at NYU, right? Yeah. I think that a lot of times, and I've spoke about this on the podcast before, just that young people don't, especially in music, value education as it's not as valuable to the entertainment industry, or it seems as though it's not. Yeah. But I know you come from a background where both of your parents are educated. They have doctorates?
Yeah, I'm the only. My mother and father got their doctorates. My younger brother has doctorate. I have my master's. My older brother has his master's. My stepbrother has a master's. It's just education is like
it's important, right?
Yeah.
Why is that though? What do you think, or how do you even think education really helped you in terms of the music business and music entertainment industry?
Honestly, I feel like a lot of it's just people skills, like just learning people skills, putting yourself in different situations. Just learning how to hustle. Like some of my classmates were artists, and they're like, yo, can you help me with this song, whatever? And I'm like, yo, can you help me with this project?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just like learning little people skills. And I do think having some sort of formal background in something is cool. I've been on the fence though about going to school. Like obviously I did.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did learn a lot. I feel like the most important thing, once again, is the people that I met, and as opposed to the curriculum itself. I mean, it was good, but I feel like you can read about,
the stuff online, you books.
You can read about the stuff online, and then there's nothing like just being in the industry, because it's just one thing that I hope these classes or these schools would teach is like just situational. Or just like different situations you get put in, I don't know. For example, like I sold a beat to Busta Rhymes and Drake. I don't know. And then you pick, how do you pick and finesse the situation so you can get the best out of both situations? Right. The industry is just really about trying to do good business with as many people, not trying to burn people, but also trying to have your career progress at the same time. So those, you can't teach a lot of those things. A lot of those things are just having good people skills.
Yeah. And
you learn that just by, being in different settings, being in classrooms, being in another state, being, all that stuff really helps mold a person, as opposed to, learning how to EQ a track. You can learn that online, or you can learn that from your friend.
Yeah. I think that having both like I said, the educational background and the internship have proven to do you justice. Yeah. So that's great. Unlike some producers, though, you've established a relationship with Atlantic Records early on, and you mentioned Def Jam early on. How do you think working with the major labels, I guess, benefited you as a producer? I didn't realize that you were even managed before thinking about that, but
yeah. Well, I started out being managed for the first 7-8 years of my career, and then I moved to Atlanta, and I kind of was managing myself. I pretty much have been managing myself this whole time. Yeah. So from like 09-ish until now. Really? So it's been good and bad. You know what I'm saying? I keep trying people out, but nobody's been like nailing it.
Yeah.
So
what do you look for when you're looking to be managed, or like what does the manager do for the producer?
Well, kind of going back to your question, it's like relationships. They gotta have the relationships, and for me, maybe I was spoiled early on. Like my manager's like, yo, don't worry about this. I got everything. Just do the tracks, and she's gonna get me the placements. And that's how it worked. I just stayed at home in my drawers half the day, just picking, like going through records and just chilling and making beats, and she would do all the work. Long term, that came to like a disadvantage because I wasn't out there meeting the people, shaking hands and stuff like that. So my relationship with Atlantic, my relationship with Def Jam, it's hard for me to have management do it because I can call Craig.
Right.
I could call Mike. I can call a lot of these heads myself. So it's more so, it's almost like I need a glorified assistant to stay on top of me, to keep me, I don't want to say interested, but keep me engaged with all the different things. I mean, because I just feel like there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
That sometimes I kind of get sometimes you kind of get lost in the sauce, like, you know, chasing something that you have a passion about, but you can't stop everything just to do one thing.
Right.
You know, so and then once again, like I've learned later on in my career how important teamwork is, and developing, you know, a nice circle around you. And I mean, I'm by far where I want to be. You know, as an organization, treating myself like a business. I mean, I'm still constantly learning. I'm always looking for, you know, a mentor or somebody to like put me, you know, because I mean, I've been doing it for a while, but I feel like I could do so much more, and so, but the little bit I have learned, and once again, going back on the relationships has kind of made me, it's made it hard for me to find a manager to do stuff that I can't.
You can do.
Yeah, I can't do.
That's real. I mean, a lot of producers out here kind of have been managing themselves, shopping around their own stuff. So
yeah,
I'm sure there are benefits to either situation.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've worked with some notable names. You mentioned even like that placement with G Unit, and 50 Cent, Drake, Busta, Rakim. Could you share with us an experience working with the artist that you'll just like never forget? Because I know
a good one or a bad one.
Either of it's something you just want from you.
I remember one time because I had done stuff for like early G Unit stuff, so it was like I remember let's see, one where I was having my first child, and it wasn't like planned, and I was like, you know, I had a little bit of money, but I was just like, yo, how's this gonna work? And I'm up here at I forgot, was it Right Track in New York, and I was with Shy Money mixing this record, and you know, we mixed records before or whatever. And he tells the engineer, like, yo, I need to clean for this one. I was like, why do you need the clean version? You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, this is the single. This is like Young Buck single or whatever. And I was like, it was crazy. Like, I got, you know, because I didn't really have, I was like almost like the king of album cuts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have like really, I would have album cuts, but they would be like one of the hardest tracks on the album type stuff. So, so to have a single was dope. And I just remember, you know, ironically, every single I would get, I would have a child.
Really?
That's how it worked. Like, so, like my first single was like, how many I got
kids?
I got 3 kids. I got 3 kids. I know. So yeah, you know, no more kids. But like my first single was Young Buck, Let Me In, and that was my first child. And then it was Amani. And then my second single was Drake, I'm Going In with Jeezy, and that was my second child, Michaela. And then Bruno Mars, 2010. Like all these records was like like my child was like just born.
That's
so like
crazy.
Like I remember
that you knew that money needed to come in.
Word, exactly. God was looking out for me, man.
He
He was looking out. So you know, my son came early, and I just remember driving down Peachtree every day, and the record would come on. I was like, yo, I've never heard any of my records play this much. This is Bruno Mars record.
Oh yeah, it went crazy.
Yeah.
Just the way you are, right?
Yeah.
That's an amazing record. So
thanks, man.
How was it going into a more pop space, working with all of the hip hop artists that you worked with over the years? That's kind of different for you.
Yeah. Well, what happened was that track was actually for Lupe Fiasco, who I've done a lot of stuff for in the past. Like he and I kind of came in the game, and at one point I was gonna be like F&F producer and all this stuff. So we had a dope relationship, and I remember doing the track, and my boy Cassius, he wrote the hook for the record, and we were in there, and he helped me with keys too, and we were in there, and I was like, yo, we gotta get Adam Levine on this record. I remember doing the record, and I'm hitting Lupe, just gassing him, like, yo, this is it. This is your single. We're gonna get Adam Levine to sing the hook. And this is around the time where Lupe and Atlantic were beefing or whatever. So I sent him the record, and he loved it, and he went quiet. So I was like, all right, well, I really, really feel this record. So I got relationships with Atlantic. I'm gonna send it to Atlantic as well. So Atlantic hits me back, yo, I love this record. A couple weeks go by, they're like, you know, we're gonna put this new cat on this to sing this hook for this song. For, you know, Lupe's gonna rap this guy, this new kid, Bruno Mars. I'm like, man, I really wanted Adam Levine as somebody big.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Once again, this is his first, you know, single. So they put him on there. He sings the hook that my boy wrote. And I was like, all right, it's cool. But Atlantic, if you know anything about Atlantic, they really, and I'm not mad at them for doing it, but they really pick apart tracks. Like, they'll make you change the snare.
I noticed that in the interview you did in the past. You talked about the drums that you had to change around or something.
Man.
How does that make you feel to have someone tell you to change the record around though?
It lets you know that they're interested, that they believe in it. I worked on that record, I remember, at this little studio, Vision Studios. And it was like, you can get shot up in Vision. You know, it was crazy. Vision was crazy. What was interesting about that studio was like Kane Beats in there. It was C-Note, Priscilla Renee. It was like all kinds of talented people there around the time. Anyway, so they just you know, I worked on that track and for a month, probably like a month and a half. They're like, change this, change that, change this. And I was just making changes and sent the record in. And they were like, all right, well, we're gonna send this to Bruno, and we're gonna have him mess with it. This whole time I'm thinking it's still Lupe's song or whatever. So shit went quiet for like a month, and then the A&Rs and Aaron Bayshuk, he just called me. He was like, yo, I'm about to change your life. I was like, really? I was like, he's like, yeah, man, this is Bruno's first single. I was like, cool. You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right, cool. I mean, I guess it's a, you know, once again, he's a new artist. Never heard of him. He had a joint that was going off though with he had Nothing on You with BLB.
Yeah, before that.
Yeah, so then, you know, they played me the record. They like because Bruno and his crew, they're producers too, so they added some stuff, and I wasn't mad at it. You know, I was like, cool, this record sounds dope. You know, but that was like one of my first collabs. Yeah. Like literally. And that was one of the first records I had like major chords. You know what I'm saying? Like all my earlier stuff was like kill people music and dark. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then this was like one of my first records that was like bright and kind of happy. And it just took off, and I just never knew how big that record was. It ended up being like the #1 record in the world, and it's still like they licensed it. Like I just heard it on a Walmart commercial the other day, and it just keeps. It's like one of them records that's going to be around for a while. So I'm proud of that record. Yeah.
Let's talk about your process in creating records, because you mentioned working at a smaller studio. When you came in here, all the memories came back of you being in Patchwerk. So, like, what equipment or software is necessary for you to have in the studio in order to produce? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah. I mean, I started out on the MPC. That's kind of been my bread and butter. I've tried to go to other programs over the years, and a lot of them are dope and they have like way like more capabilities, but it's still like the way I think about producing is still being on the MPC. So I use that. They have like a hardware, software kind of hybrid program that I actually help develop the software.
Really? Nice.
With them, just I'm like on the beta team, just telling them, yo, try to do this. You know, this ain't working. So so I use that, and then I mean, after that, you know, I'm like my pops. Like I'm a kind of like an audiophile. Like yesterday, I just bought some Augsburgers. Before that, I had some these like, you know, mastering speakers. These, you know, $50,000 barefoot speakers, and I'm just like really into like, yo, it gotta sound good. It gotta sound perfect. I gotta get the best mic. You know, I got the Sony C100. I gotta get this chain. You know, I'm really into making sure that when you come to my studio or my little personal studio, you're gonna sound legit. Good. You're gonna sound legit, because these labels, they want to hear shit done. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just really nowadays I just surround myself with cool people. You know, I'm a real kind of vibey person. You know, and I'm sure I can work with more talented people, but if you're an asshole, yo, it just be throwing me off.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, the environment is important.
Yeah, so I work with a lot of, keyboard players that may or may not have a placement. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really into like live musicians. I got some horn players coming in later on today.
Nice.
To work on some stuff but really, as long as I get my MP, I feel like I'm at home and I can, throw anything else in there after that.
Dope. So you succeeded in continuously crafting these records. Why do you think that is? What do you think? I mean, it's been over almost 2 decades.
Yeah, yo. It's crazy.
You don't feel like it's been that long?
It doesn't seem like it. Life definitely flies by, man.
Right.
So I really just think a lot of it has to do with my upbringing, because like in Lansing, we listen to everything. Like we started, we listened to Master P to Too Short to DJ Quick to Nas. Like we listened to everything. Yeah,
because y'all are like mid.
We're like we didn't have a sound. I mean, we had a sound. We had Detroit had house music, and we had some Detroit rap, but it wasn't like real mainstream. And then after I left Michigan, I went to Florida A&M, and that was like a whole nother. So I'm listening to like, Jan Pointing and Poison Clan and
Florida got their own thing.
Yeah, that gets a whole nother. But all of those experiences like really, really, I think helped me craft a sound that's not necessarily, like a coastal sound, and it's not like I try to stay fresh, like try to stay on top of what's going on, because I know a lot of cats that when I was, back in the G Unit days that were just amazing producers, but they never switched their shit. Yeah, they never evolved. So I think that's just my love of music and just my DJing background, being from, a little bit of all over. I think that really kind of helps me stay on track on what's going on.
It's cool that you say talking about the evolution of music over the years, and as music evolves, I always wonder how important or how do you adapt to what's going on. You mentioned Detroit not necessarily having it's T Grizzlies out. You heard of him? Obviously Big Sean, but they're Cash Doll, I guess, other people from there who are coming out with a specific, there's a specific sound that Detroit has in terms of rap. How do you think it is, how do you adapt as a producer though in these times?
Well, for me, over the years, I started out as a hip hop head, like I love Nas, my son's name is Nasir. Like,
really?
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Not on purpose. My wife named her that. Anyway, so
I love that name.
Yeah, it's cool. But he came like, I didn't want to name my son after a rapper.
Yeah.
And she just loved the name, and I'm up here thinking of names, and this little dude comes a month early. You know what I mean? It just caught me off guard. Yeah. So anyway, his name is Nasir. So how do I stay on top of things? I feel like, as far as like hip hop is concerned, I honestly don't do as much hip hop these days because I'm just gonna be honest.
You can't get with it.
It's not a lot of substance. It could be a lot of bad business. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of shit that I'm an older dude now that I'm just don't feel
not trying to deal with.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be around, and like I got exposed to a whole different check with the pop record that one pop record made more than all my rap records combined.
Well, I think it's interesting too because many artists are not really limiting themselves in terms of hip hop or anything. So you could do a record for Migos and it'd be a pop record.
Absolutely.
So
it's like rap is definitely pop now. It's amazing to see. Definitely with Billboard and they're counting streaming and stuff. It lets you know how big Black culture is just in general.
Right.
And and this is, I feel like within the last year when you go and see Bad and Bougie #1. And then like, whatever. Then you have Black Beatles. These like if you go down the charts, it's like all black people on the top 10.
Yeah.
And that's been interesting to see, and I'm wondering how long that's gonna stay that way.
That's gonna last.
Yeah.
I mean, they taking advantage of that. Now you got records with Katy Perry. Everybody wants a record.
Absolutely.
Calvin Harris has his whole entire album is pretty much hip hop influenced.
Yeah, and then now obviously the big thing is like the island stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I have a Jamaican artist that's actually really dope. But yeah, I actually tend to like. Actually, pop music now, to me, you could be more creative. I feel like with hip hop, it's a little kind of in a box, as far like sonically and subject matter. Sometimes I feel like it's more in a box than pop music. You could have an artist like Lorde go number one, and her shit is like slow and different or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you'll have, I don't know. Then you'll have a Taylor Swift song. Like there's different ways you can make a big pop record, and I like that freedom to be able to do what I want to do and pull from my experiences, as opposed to just making
what's involved in it.
16th hi-hats, 808s, and a catchy hook.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I just it gets so boring to me, just creatively. Yeah. So all I listen to now, like one thing that's helped me is traveling, like going abroad, going to other countries. Like I have a big showcase on May 20th with my artist. It's this international hip hop conference called New School Rules.
Nice.
And I go there.
Where is it?
It's in Rotterdam. It's in the Netherlands.
Nice. And
it's this cool place where, and I've developed a relationship with this company where I go there like 2-3 times a year. I go, they bring me artists and I find artists. So yeah, I got a showcase there, showcasing one of my artists. The Jamaican artist name is Alyssa Sheik, and then I got an artist that lives in Amsterdam, Nicole Buss, and I'm having like a big showcase. I got my own night at this event, and what's crazy is all of the A&Rs from over here are flying over there.
Dope.
So it's like an opportunity for my artist to perform in front of every label, every publisher in a whole nother country,
right,
in front of a whole bunch of like island people. It's like set up for the win. I hope I'm able to pull it off. But it was like very strategic because I don't know if I could do a showcase here that has everybody.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Representation from everybody.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
But traveling is definitely important. Like all I listen to now is Afrobeat.
Yeah.
Like that's all I listen to.
Yeah.
It's just
you like that
put on the SoundCloud.
Record?
Yeah.
What is it called? I don't even know.
I just listen to SoundCloud, and it's so interesting. It's so like, it's like next. All the melodies are dope. All the little subtle drum patterns that they're doing. It's just all the counter melodies, all the counter rhythms. Is really, really what I've been into. Dope. It's just kept my attention.
Yeah, that's a major.
It's coming.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely coming.
So you've actually explored. You just mentioned some other industries that you're working in, or even places that you're seeing and having influenced by. But you could talk about the records that you've had placed in films, like Adam Sandler's movie, Coach Carter, and some more recently, the commercial with Apple Music.
Oh yeah.
With the Jeremih record.
Yeah.
So tell us about your first placement on one of my favorite shows, Rap City.
Wow.
In the basement, and how that changed the game for you, because that was different.
Yeah, it was definitely different. Just hearing your music on TV was.
What did you
amazing.
do for Rap City though?
I did like not the first theme, but I did like the second or third seasons or whatever theme music, and then I did this top 20 countdown that they had. Mm-hmm. I did that music, and it was that was actually one of my real first like placements were those things. Shout out to my boy Rashidi Hendrix, and and then after that I did stuff for like Corona. And
really?
I did stuff for Vibe Awards and MTV and all these little things, and I just saw that it's a different stream of income. Mm-hmm. They normally pay well, mm-hmm. and they pay on time. And it's just like now I actually consult for an ad agency.
Yeah.
BBDO.
Okay.
And it's like one of the largest ad agencies in the world, and I'm brought in to do kind of everything music related. So I I help. I'm kind of like the liaison between the actual company and the different music houses, where if they're like, I guess our latest campaign is this Norwegian Cruise Line campaign, and I'm like saying, you know, I'm telling the different music houses, look, we needed to be like this, we needed to add this, we need to pull from this. So I have, you know, I'll pull a lot of references for them to like get it to where we need it to be, because the people at my company, they're ad people. They don't necessarily speak music speak. So I'm like the guy that's like, you know, I'm having to decipher. She's like, yo, I want more boom boom and you know this, and I'm saying, yo, do you add this, and
right.
then, yeah. So that's kind of what I do for them, as well as, you know, I create a little bit, and but that's, once again, that's just a whole nother stream of income. That
so when I'm curious to know, because I mean I'm not a producer, but in terms of like getting these placements on something like a show like Rap City in the Basement or an award show, are you just giving them something from your archives, or are you specifically producing for that particular thing?
It's a little bit of both. I would say more times than not, it's just stuff from the archive, or there's like, you know, I feel like I get a call every day. This person's looking for this.
Right.
What do you have?
Right.
You know, and really, that's why I like having supply. You know what I mean? Supply, and having a diverse catalog is really, really helpful, because I feel like, you know, we get presented opportunities all the time.
Yeah, you gotta be ready.
You gotta be ready. You gotta have a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So, who or what do you owe your success to as a producer?
I mean, it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work. But yo, I just feel so blessed, yo. Like, just straight up. I always wonder, like, it's almost like, why me, or how? Like, how? You know, I mean, I work hard and I've done a lot, but it's like I'm just extremely blessed, man. I don't know how else to say it, man. Like you know, I found out, like, the more I got into church, at least early on in my career, there's like a direct correlation of like how much time I spent like on the word, and then my success is like, it's crazy. So no, I'm just thankful, and I don't take, you know, these blessings lightly, and I like to speak and talk to, you know, as many people, and like just try to give, as, you know, people as much knowledge as possible, because once again, we didn't talk about it yet, but I survived cancer and all this stuff. That's actually how I got my name. Yeah,
I was gonna ask that.
So even like just being here is just a blessing. So I'm just like,
that was good. Early too for you.
Yeah, that was right before I moved to New York.
Wow.
Right before I moved, like my senior year at Florida State. You know, I got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's like a cancer of your lymph node, and they caught it early, which was good. But I had to go through, like, you know, radiation and chemotherapy while I was on the process. So that was even crazier, like doing all that stuff. So so they caught it early, and, you know, one like the way I got my name was simple. I once again, I just started making music, and I wanted to send some stuff off to Nas. It's funny how when you like start making beats, 2 months in, you think you the shit. You know what I'm saying? You start. And so anyway, I want to send some stuff into Nas. Beats were probably trash, but I didn't have a name, and I just was trying to think of a name. But I'm up here going through chemo with needles in my arm. I look down. I was like, yo, I'm just do this, and I just wrote it on a CD and like had my mom send it in. So yeah.
Well, I'm happy you seem to be healthy.
I'm good, yo.
And active and still progressing. So that's always amazing.
Thank you.
Much success as you've adapted over the years. I wanted to ask you too, like, you've changed, I guess, the way you produce, whereas you would send in beats, and, you know, the label or your manager, the A&R, whoever, would just kind of send it over to the artist and you correspond that way. Yeah. Now it seems like you're a little bit more hands-on in the process. Why is that?
I think creating music with a person is such a different, it's like a bonding experience. It's almost like, you know, smoking weed with a person. It's like you have this bond.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like this, I don't know what it is, but like making music with a person could be such a dope experience, you know. And it almost like gives your chance of making an album, and makes it just completely like raise its chances of being successful. Because the artist feels like this track is tailor made. They had their input and all that stuff. The first part of my career, and I just feel blessed because, you know, we were sending CDs off, like, you know, and of course you have relationships. Yo, did you listen to the CD? But I wasn't in the studio with 50 early on. I wasn't in the studio. Like, I would meet these cats. You know, I met Young Buck at 50's house, you know, a couple years later after I did a single. I'm like, yo, what's up? He's like, who are you?
I'm the one that did your
I'm just your single, dog. You know what I'm saying? You know, but when they find out, it's like, oh, you know, it's all good. But so it was you know, my career has been different, like, where it was just a lot of like, and that's kind of why I kind of been under the radar a little bit, just because I somehow managed to, or my manager at the time, you know, sending stuff off and people do good songs to them and it takes off. Like the way I'm Going In happened was I was at, I forgot, Hot Beats or something like this. Or something. Yeah, it was at Hot Beats. And I'm up here. This is so ghetto. Like I was, I had a CD, right? Mm-hmm. I was supposed to, my boy said, yo, go down to Hot Beats and get his CD to Lil Wayne's guy, or it's either Lil Wayne or Lil Wayne's guy. So I go down there, I make the CD, I go down there, I want to go write my name on the CD, just so he knew who I was and it's legit and have my contact info. But the damn Sharpie ran out. So it's like hella faint. Like you couldn't see none of this stuff. Anyway, fast forward, Wayne gets the CD, does a song on every song. He makes a song on every song on that CD, puts it out on the internet, and I'm like, damn, I must have just got leaked or whatever. But one of the records caught, which is I'm Going In, and they added Drake and all this stuff. It's just weird how things kind of come to fruition. So many stories of just like luck, because you never know what these, you know, sending music off, you never know what that artist is like doing at the time. He could have a room full of girls. He could be high out of his mind. He could be, it's like such a crapshoot, you know? Yeah. But if you're there, you literally, you know what's happening, how they're reacting, what to play next, you know, and all that stuff. So just being there, being in the mix, being in the sessions is probably one of the most important things these days.
So I feel like you've branded yourself well, even though your name came about through, you know, your testimony. How important is the name for you as a producer? Because it's almost like you take on the role of an artist in a sense.
Yeah.
And you talked about writing it on a CD and not necessarily knowing who it is, but
yeah, it's cool. It's kind of weird, like some name I made up, you know, I don't know, however long, 16, 17 years ago.
Stuck with you.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's like, man, I still got a Z on the end of my name and I'm just turning 40. It's kind of weird, y'all. It's weird. When I'm in the corporate offices, they're like with the consulting thing, they're like, so what should we call you? And I'm like, I would say Kareem, but everybody knows me as Needlz. So I'm like meeting all the heads of these companies, shaking hands, like, yeah, I'm Needlz. It just feels so weird to me, man. But it is what it is. I mean, this is.
I mean, at least you don't have Lil in front of your name.
Yeah, Lil Needlz.
Lil Needlz.
Yeah, it was crazy. My daughter started DJing.
Oh,
She's
really?
like, yo, I got a name. I need a name. And it has to have a Z on it. She's like, you know what? I'm Glitz.
Glitz.
Yeah, like I'm DJ Glitz. I'm like, all right, you know.
How old is she DJing?
She's 13, and yo, she picked it up so fast, yo.
Nice.
I mean, she loves music. I lean on my daughter. She's the coolest kid out there. Like, she's like, if you see her, like, the other day she made a little music board of all her influences, like musically, and it's just,
who's up
it's
there?
like James Blake. It's you know, it's FKA Twigs. It's XX Extension. I don't know that dude. It's and then it's Outkast, it's Tribe, it's Dilla, it's Premier. Like,
that's awesome.
She knows, these people's work, and it's just so diverse that I just think she's just somebody that I'm like, when the ad agencies, they're coming to me like, yo, what's new, what's cool? I'm like, Monty, what's on your SoundCloud? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the kids, they know, man, they have the ear. And one thing I have experienced with her is she loves the old school stuff. She can hear, I don't know, she can just hear good music and point it out. Even if it's new, she's like, yo, this is it.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about the new generation. Is there anyone that you're looking to work with that's currently out that you haven't quite worked with just yet?
Let's see, rap wise.
Anything.
Yeah.
Really.
I would say rap wise, this is cat I just stumbled on. I mean, he's probably been around for a minute. This Jid.
Oh yeah, here.
Yeah.
He's from here. Amazing.
I like him. He reminds me of a lot of different people, and I like him. I like who else? Nick Grant. I'm about to work with. He's been through. I just I got a couple artists that I'm just really excited about. And outside of that, man, I'm not really. While I would love to have a Rihanna placement and a Beyonce placement, I'd rather work with the next Beyonce and the next Rihanna, because it's a more fulfilling process, and your chances are better. Yeah. It's less politics, and I really like working with new artists. And,
I was gonna say you've been really successful with a lot of newer artists, like P&B Rock with that Selfish record. It went ridiculous. And what excites you about working with that artist though, the newer artist? Like, what do you have? I mean, you mentioned that there's not a lot of politics involved with it, but also, what excites you about the newer artists?
More importantly, it's just there's not much of a box at this, because they're exploring themselves. Like a lot of when you make your first album, it's like your life up to that point. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's not a crazy box like, yo, I can only do this type of record, because you could do whatever you want. I don't like being in a box creatively. So new artists allow you to, step out there. Like with the P&B Rock record, we just we were in New York and we went to the studio, and he was cool. The dude was talented. I knew immediately how that record, like, he was literally talking to this girl. This girl was bad too. Like I was like, dang. And she was talking. She had Balenciagas on. Like all the stuff he's talking about in the song was about this girl that was like right next to us. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he comes up to me. He's like humming a song or whatever, like the hook. And he comes up to me. He's like, yo, what do you think about this? And I was like, that's just not. I knew the hook. It was just, I was like, yo, just change this, make a couple edits here and there, like little small edits. And I just knew that it had potential to do what it's doing. Like, what's dope about that record is it's more like a viral thing. It's like kind of underground. It's almost platinum without no radio play. Yeah. It's just now kind of getting the radio.
Exactly.
So that just seeing, cats. I mean, even though P&B has been around for a couple of years or whatever, but just seeing your little babies, blow up is dope, man. It's doper than, to me, just like submitting a song. Hey, can you please have my song, Rihanna? Please, what I mean? I'd rather just craft some shit for somebody new and break some new shit.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you travel a lot and that you're doing a lot of different things with the ad agency to working with these newer artists. My question is, how do you balance that with 3 children, a wife?
Hard. That's probably the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing being in this industry. Is just like, yo, I make time. I make sure I'm there every morning. I make sure I'm there at least till 7. Well, I might not be able to put my kids to sleep, but I'll make sure I'm there for, all the meetings, I do a lot of stuff during the day for my kids, and I make sure that I'm around. But at night, is just when I work, and I just every night I'm coming home at like 3 or 4, and came home at like 4:30 yesterday, and I felt bad. Like I feel bad because like my wife is at home alone with 3 kids, but then at the same time it's like this is what pays the bills. You know what I mean? I know you may not have signed up for this, but like this is how we buying this house, and this is how we, So it's definitely a sacrifice. It's definitely a sacrifice, and one of the harder things you have to deal with as a creative person. If you have any kind of like morals, or if you care about your family, you know what I mean. It makes it's really difficult for me to leave every day when your son is like, no, don't go. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I'll see you in the morning. So yeah, that balance is crazy. But like my managers early on, she was like, yo, grind really, really, really hard now. So you don't, you set them up and they'll thank you for it later. Like I'm just trying to like make sure that they're straight, and make sure I'm leaving them with a big ass house. I'm leaving them with a whole bunch of money. You know what I mean? And more than that, just being there. Like me and my son, we box, every weekend, and he's like actually really dope. My son Nasir is like, he's like actually nice with it. But so yeah, I'm
raising little locals and entertainers.
Then also, and then what's another thing that's a little dynamic about my life is just my everyday stuff. So my middle child, Michaela, she's autistic.
Yeah, I was gonna ask your involvement with my youngest brother is autistic as well.
It's so crazy.
So I think they're geniuses.
I swear, I feel like it may sound weird as shit, but I feel like if some aliens or something were to come down or whatever, like these autistic kids will be like our saviors or something. Like it's gonna, honestly, yeah, it's like they speak. They're like on some. They're tuned into a whole nother wavelength, and but it's definitely demanding. It's definitely, it's so heartbreaking and so rewarding at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's like the little things. Yeah. It's the really, really small things that, but the thing about my daughter is just like she's so happy. It's like her life is so simple. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like I'm happy for her because of that. Like all she wants is her iPad and some food, and she's like good. You know what I mean? She's like good. You know what I mean?
You and your family involved in the autism walk that happens?
Absolutely. Every year, I at least the last 3 years I've been in charge of the music. Like bringing music to the walk. I DJ at the gala. My wife is executive board member at Autism Speaks in Atlanta. Awesome. So we're definitely in that community as well. It's just such a important cause, just because we're blessed enough to like be able to afford some of the therapies and stuff like that. But it's just like being able to like put people on to different stuff, free stuff. And different, places out there that can help is just definitely rewarding, because we went through this, blind, not knowing who to turn to, what to do. Yeah,
a lot of people, especially in our community, don't really know about
especially our community. Yeah, and there's so many like free programs, because we went from paying like $6,000 a month in therapy. Wow. To getting a lot of it covered. A lot of it covered by this or that program. So
yeah. I was gonna ask you too if you still DJ'd, if that was something that you were still into doing. Obviously, your daughter's probably trying to take you up on that. But
you know what? I stopped DJing in college. I don't know what it was. It's just the crates were so heavy, and I was like a one-man team, and then I didn't see a long-term career in DJing back then. But ironically, now, if you're a DJ, you can make millions and millions of dollars. So I've slowly kind of crept back into it. I bought the little controller that I like, you know what I mean? That's portable. Yeah. And I definitely want to start DJing again, just because it's like you get a rush when you're like killing it. Mm-hmm. But I just want to do it on my terms. Like I almost want to do it where like I'm playing the shit that I like. Yeah. And, and finding like-minded people that like I only want to just play like East Coast music from the 90s and just have like a 90s night every like once a month or something.
More than possible, especially in Atlanta. It's a theme for everything.
I feel like there is, and I want to create that. I want to create a place that has that that whole vibe, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick it back up, and I'm sure my daughter's gonna be on the scene.
She can carry around some equipment for you for a second. She probably get on the.
She can be DJing
for you.
Like my opening act.
I love it. I love it. So if you could tell a young producer absolutely anything that you wish you'd known in the beginning, starting off, what would you say?
I would say you gotta first of all get into this industry to like be creative and stand out, and like try not to do what everybody else is doing. So many people, I think that's probably one of the more frustrating things for me with young producers is like they'll literally mimic what's going on, like to this everything, you know, snare, like it's almost as if they're not coming from their own heart and just doing something different. And I don't think they know how spoiled they are. Like they have every sound, imaginable. Like when I was coming up, you had to damn near steal drums from people and fight. And I remember trading drums with Kanye, and the nigga Kanye gave me the wackest drums ever. I gave him some heat. You know what I'm saying? But like all of that stuff was, I mean, it's so accessible and so right there at your fingertips. I feel like the lack of limitations has kind of create some of the creativity. It's kind of taking a step back a little bit, because once, especially black people, we make so much out of a little bit of shit. We had drum machines that only had like a couple seconds of sample time, and used to make some amazing shit out of it. But now they don't have those limitations. And just imagine like, Stevie Wonder with all of the shit that he could do now. This would be amazing. But it would encourage these young producers to really try to stand out instead of just fitting in. Yeah, because you'll go a lot further that way than just, you may have a song here or there, but you'll go a lot further if you have your own sound.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I just heard you was in the band, huh?
Yeah. I was in Sexton Band, yep.
Oh.
Yep. I was
what did you play?
Saxophone, alto saxophone. I hated, my parents, they were like, you gotta play piano. So we had piano lessons, but we were we were young and we wanted to go outside and play.
Were your parents musicians?
They weren't musicians.
Neither
but they're
were
like,
they?
you gotta play an instrument. You gotta play piano. You got, and I played sax, but at one point we literally boycotted my parents. It was like, we're not, and then we had like my older cousin there too, like, we're not going to any more piano lessons. But I super regret it because I can't play keys that good now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wish I would have kept up with it. And but anyway, I went to high school, played sax. All that stuff was good just to, once again, not only meet, the band people, side of people, but it's also just having that, just knowing some theory and how chords work. So while I can't sit up here and play crazy, I know how things should work.
Sound, right?
Yeah, and I'm just like pointing.
Were you in marching band or you were in concert?
I was in a marching band and all that stuff. Concert band.
There's nothing wrong with it. It was a great experience.
Yeah, down here is a lot cooler than it was up there.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Down here it's like
you want to be
cool.
in a band.
Yeah, up there it's like this comes around the same time as basketball and all these different things, or football. And so, yeah.
Well, it looks like you have a lot of things going on, and that all of these experiences have obviously shaped you.
Absolutely.
To being a phenomenal producer.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'm excited for all that you have coming up. Good luck with the conference.
Yeah, I'm excited.
At the end of the month here, and I guess what do you see, or where do you see yourself in the next, I guess let's just say five years. I hope to have my own distribution. And I hope to just be able to put out a lot of creative music. I still think I'll probably have my foot a little bit more in the ad game, and then and just a lot more real estate. I'm really into the real estate I heard you said you were doing
yeah.
the construction, and there's a lot of going on in it.
Yeah. I've just caught licks, just, buying at the right time, buying in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that stuff has been really important. And it's just like, that's why we kind of, my wife and I really give my wife credit, really being involved with like your community and what's going on next, because like right now, Boulevard and that whole area, like it's a little hood right now, but it's already bought up.
Yeah.
Everything is bought up.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so we need to try to buy it. Like I guess that store, department store,
Mm-hmm.
like we were about to buy that.
Okay.
If I were listening to my wife, before it was a department store,
Oh.
she was like, yo, you need to get this building.
Yeah.
Because all of this is bought up, everything is coming here. And I was like, I don't know. Next thing I know, it was cheap too, considering I could have had a whole building. But stuff like that happens all the time if you know where to buy and if you're involved in the community. And that's why politics and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all that stuff is important. So I'm really into that as well. So just, that all of the above, all of the music, the ad stuff, and more
real estate.
Yeah.
Dope. I'm excited for you, and I appreciate you for taking the time out, because I know you could be with your family and anywhere else. We appreciate you coming on the podcast, and good luck with everything in the future.
Appreciate it.
Once again, you were tuned into the I Do Music Podcast with Needlz here.
Yeah.
Grammy Award winning producer. Where can they find you on social media?
Probably the best one is at Needlz 1906. That's on Instagram. That's pretty much consistent. Well, I'm on at Needlz 1906, and then that's probably the best one. I'll say that. Yeah.
Cool. And as always, you can find me at Sammy Approved on social media, and I Do Music Online. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you've been dope, man. I'm really impressed by
Thank you.
by your interviewing skills.
Thank you.
It definitely was flowing.
Appreciate you.
Know what I mean? And because I'm a stream of conscious, like I talk in a circle and just bring it back.
I love it. I love it. Now, you were amazing. We appreciate you for coming and stopping by. And y'all be sure to check out all the other episodes on I Do Music.
Yep.
Thank y'all.
All right. Peace.
Sonically superior.